So Ayin Dalet on the base, 2 lines from the bottom. The Mishnah says that one of the Av Malachas is Vatoifer Shtei Tfiros. Somebody sews 2 sewings, Tfiros, for the Gemara, V'olai Kaima. Rashi says, even like Kaima, if it doesn't stay, it's going to fall out. Lav Malachi. So why is it Av Malacha? So Gemara answers, Amar Rabbi Bachana, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, but V'hu Shekashran. He ties, Rashi says, Shekashar Shnei Roshei Achut. He ties the top of the threads and makes a little knot so it won't fall out. If you just put a thread in, it's just going to fall out. But if you make a little knot, it'll stay there, and therefore it'll be like a kesher shel kayama. It's a permanent thing, and therefore you're chayiv. Mishnah says then, akarei almanas litfar. If somebody tears almanas that he's going to sew, for the Gemara, every av malacha has to be in the mishkan. So kriya b'mishkan mihava. Where was there something that you were tearing in the Mishkan that you're going to be chayiv on this tearing? So the Gemara says, Rabba of Rab Zera, Damar Tavayu, Shekain Yeriya, Shenafal Boldarna, if the curtain, a worm actually ate up part of the curtain, and there's a hole, so you just can't sew it, Rashi says, you just can't sew it together, because it won't be smooth, there'll be a crease. So what do? So before you sew the hole where the worm made a hole, Kairimba, you tear around the hole, and I was make it a little bigger on top and the bottom, and then and then you sew it, and it will be an even. It will look very even. There won't be a crease. So that is the Korea. There's a tearing in the Mishkan. So therefore, is a Korea. Manas litfar your chayiv. Amar Rab Zutra bar Tuvia Amar Rav. Next case, Hamoteach chut shel tfira. Somebody stretches out a thread of when somebody sewed the Shabbos. Then you are chayiv echatos, right? Rashi says that when the third line, abeged atafor va'imei v'iniach achut aruch, and there's a thread, a little long, nispartu shtei chatichos abeged zu mizu, and they're separated. So what do? You pull the threads and you like strengthen you pull the parts together, right? So if you pull that is a tefira, and therefore you chayiv on it. The next case is
wearing a sweatshirt with a hoodie.
Right, and you pull the 2 strings. So it all depends on how you tie it, right?
Right,
it all depends.
Permanent knot or not.
You have the same problem when you make a tie on Shabbos, right?
For the shoe.
You don't make the hoodies?
No, with the strings and stuff.
Yeah.
Choking hazard.
Is that right?
They don't make
Okay, so that's one case of the Mishnah. The second case, not the Mishnah of Rav, the second case that Rav learned is Aloymit Davar Echad. This is not the Gabi Shabbos, this is something else now. Aloymit Echad, Davar Echad Menam Mogush. If somebody learns something from a person that's a Mogush, Rashi says it's a Min HaMamshichu L'Avodah Zarah. He brings you closer, he talks to you, he brings you closer to Avodah Zarah. So with him, you cannot even learn, Rashi says, Davar Torah Aslam Mimeno. If a person is a min, you can't even learn a Dvar Torah from him because you're going to get closer to him. You're chayiv misa. Third halacha is hayidei alachshes tekufos and mazalos. If somebody knows about the tekufos and mazalos, ve'ena choshev, and he doesn't publicize it, he doesn't teach other people about it, also l'sap emeno. He keeps everything to himself, because if he publicizes it, people start praising what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is all about. You know, everything what's going on in the weather systems. So, asl l'sapim, you cannot even have a regular conversation with this person. Now, this mogush that we learned, Migushta, what is it? Rabbi Shmuel Chadama is a charshe. He's a charshe, Rashi says, is a mechashev, a witchcrafter. The Chadamar a gidufe. Rashi says, Gedufe's minha oduk ba'avodah zarah. A person that's attached to avodah zarah will make gadev tamid as Hashem. He's always cursing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Will meses anoshim la'avodah zarah. He's always talking people into joining the cult, right? So you got to stay away from that person. You can't even learn Torah from him. So the Stayim, the Rav, Damar Gedufe. I could bring you a proof that it's Rav that explains that Megushta is a Gedufe. It's a min ha'aduk b'avodah zarah. The Amar Rab Zutra bar Tuvia Amar Rav, haloymei davar echad min ha'magush chayiv misa. Rav says that you learn chayiv misa. It is magush. The isal kedai techarshe. If we're going to explain that magush means a mechashev, a witchcraft, why you chayiv misa? If you learn something from him, haksiv. The only isser from a mechashev is like shalamet lasais. You can't learn from him that you want to start doing kishuv. But you are allowed to, In other words, learn from a mechashev to understand it. So if you see somebody that's doing these things, you'll understand that he's a Navi Sheker or something like that. So why, if Rav holds Mogush is a Charshe, why would you be Chai Misa? Must be the Stayim, must be that Rav holds it's a Gidufe, right? So a Gidufe, a person that's Oduk, Laved Zara, there you Chai Misa, but not with a Mechashev. Okay.
So Avodah Zarah is not as bad as witchcraft? Or witchcraft's not as bad as Avodah Zarah?
So witchcraft, to practice it is bad, but to understand it, that when you see other people doing it and saying that this is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you'll be able to tell these people that the guy's a Navi Sheker. So you have to, it's not that you have to learn. If you have some ability to be able to learn, not every boy in school has to go out now and learn about Kishuv. It means somebody that knows these things, start learning more about it to understand it, so you'll be able to prove that somebody is a Navi Sheker. But actual Kishuv, you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to learn to actually do it. Right? Witchcraft.
What about Mechashefa lo techaye?
Excuse me?
Mechashefa lo techaye. That's in the Torah. You should not let a Mechashefa.
Should not suffer them to live.
Right, right.
That's them.
That's the person that does it. That usually goes on a woman when you say Machashefa, right? She's a Machashefa. You never hear a man is a Machashefa, right? You hear a woman's a Machashefa. Amr Reb Shimon ben Pazi, Amr Shimon ben Levi, Mishum Bakapara. Kol Eidei Lachshev b'Tekuvos and Mazalos. Again, if somebody knows about Tekuvos and Mazalos, ve'einu choshev aleh, he doesn't get involved in it. Hakasav Vaymer v'Espoil Hashem lo yabitu u'Ma'asev Yadav lo yro. So in other words, you have to publicize about the Tekuvos and Mazalos, about the beauty, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has, the nature of the world, the weather systems, Rashi explains. Amr Reb Shmuel bar Necheni, Amr Reb Yochanan, Menayin shemitzuvah al adam, shemitzvah, but it's not really a mitzvah, but a mitzvah, a person should. Lachshev Tekuvos and Mazalos, shenemu u'shmartem v'asisem, kihi chochmaschem, u'b'nitnaschem le'enu ha'amim, and show it to the goyim. Eze chochma bina shu le'enu ha'amim. What kind of chochma bina do you show to the nations of the world? So if somebody knows about these things, publicize it. But you really don't have to go out and start studying this just to publicize it. Okay, now the Mishnah quoted listed another Av Malacha. Is Hatzad Tzvi. If somebody captures a deer, Satan Rabbanan, Hatzad Chilazon, if somebody captures the Chilazon was a fish. Rashi and Amid Beis, we learned it yesterday, 3 lines on the bottom, is Tidi Chilazon Litzvaya, Rashi says, Atchelas Bedamo. You used to take this Chilazon to get the dye, the blue dye. But who came in dog cotton, a small fish? And Rashi says, Va'oila Achaz L'Shivim Shana. And it comes up out of the water once in 70 years. Right?
How does that,
so
the ones who are making the chelas?
Right, so how are these guys staying in business, right?
I don't know.
These guys are doing the chelas business, they're not charging that much. I mean, they're charging whatever it is. But if it comes out once in 70 years, so I was on this tour in Eretz Yisrael, I asked the guy the question.
Yeah, and what do you think?
How do you get it? So he says, if you wait for the fish to come out, it's once in 70 years. But if you take a scuba diver and get in there, then you can find more chilazon, he explained. And therefore he made a sale. I bought it off him. What?
They breed it? Can you breed it?
They say that if you go into the water and find it, you could find them. They come to the shore and on its own.
Fish or
Rashi says that cotton. So I know you have to look into that. Anyway, so Hatzad Chilazon, if somebody captures this fish, or Vapoite, and not only when he captures it, he also squeezes, Rashi says, he squeezes the fish that the blood should come out, and he uses that blood for the tchelas. You only will be chai, Rashi says, musum tzeda, for capturing, but on squeezing out the blood, leka chiyuv. There's no chiyuv on that. We'll see the Gemara right away. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no, chayiv shtayim. When you capture the fish and you squeeze the blood out, you'll be chayiv 2. Shahir Rabbi Yehuda Omer, pitzia is b'chal disha. It's a threshing, right? It's dash. And therefore, it's just like Rashi says, Shemafarik dame amen. When somebody takes the blood out of the fish, it's kemafarik tfua mikashin shalah. It's like threshing the wheat. So therefore, you're chayiv al tzad, al capturing, and you're chayiv al tash. Amar loy, said Chacham, and told Rabbi Yehuda, no. Ain't pitzia b'chal disha. In other words, squeezing out blood has nothing to do with dash. Dash only applies to an ochel, food, but not to blood. Amar Rava my time the Rabbanan. Why? Because Ksavri ain't Dishel Gedule Karka. So he says anything that grows out of the ground. So if you're squeezing out the blood from an animal, from the fish, that is not Disha. Freddy Gemara, but you have another problem. When you're squeezing out the blood, you're killing the fish. So you should be chayiv out capturing tzad and nitilas neshama. Amar Rabbi Yechanan shepatza meis. In other words, you squeezed it out when the fish was already dead. So the question is, if you're capturing a fish and taking it out of the water, you are killing it by taking it out of the water, right?
So
that's what Taisus. If you see a Taisus, what?
The groma.
Could be a groma, or you could take it out of the ocean and put it in a pail of water, right? But Taisus says, actually, like Menlo was saying, that it's jumping still around, right? It's still alive.
So today, when you take it out, it dies automatically because you're taking out the...
What, the blood?
Yeah.
Depends on how much blood maybe you're taking out.
No, this is to get the dye. You get the blood.
You kill it.
Right. So here, Rabbi Yechanan says that it was dead already before you squeezed it out. So you're not chayiv till neshama. Rabba Amar afilu tema shepatzu chai. Let's go to the next case. Mark, afilu tema shepatzu chai. You squeezed it out when the fish was alive. Why aren't you chayiv al nitils neshama? So the answer is it's a misasek who ate nitils neshama. Rashi says it's not really a misasek. Kolayim Rashi says l'gabe netilas neshama have a misasek b'tovar acher. In other words, he doesn't want the fish to die. V'lehavim lechas machsheves she'ein miskaven sheyamus. He doesn't want that, so therefore you won't be chayiv. But for the Gemara, if you cut off a chicken's head, you know it's going to die. You don't want it to get cut off. You know it's going to die. So here too.
You should be chayiv.
What's that?
Every time you do a shechita.
So you don't do it on Shabbos.
No, I'm talking not Shabbos.
Oh, you mean? But that's all. We're allowed to do that.
So why can you not Shabbos? Why can't you?
We're talking about Shabbos.
Yeah, you could. We're talking about Shabbos. Al Chiyav Shabbos. That's Gemara's question. Why are you only chayiv because of capturing on Shabbos? You should be chayiv because you're killing, right? So our answer is because this person doesn't really, he's a davar she'ein miskaven, but it's a psik reisha v'layamus. So Gemara says, no, shani hacha, the kamad ishbei neshama tvei, if the fish is alive, nichale, tvei nichale, the person wants it to be alive. Why? The blood comes out when the fish is alive, a nicer color. So you really want the fish to be alive. You don't want it to die. So by that act of squeezing out blood, you're not chayiv al Shabbos al Netilas Neshama. So in other words, it's davar she'ein miskaven. And even though normally we hold sikreish v'layamos, you are chayiv, but here the person doesn't even want it. Rashi, if you look at Rashi, Tvei nichale shedam achai. A person wants the fish to be alive, because live blood that comes out of a live fish toiv medam ameis. V'chivin l'chol atzmai miskaven v'toyrach l'shamish l'yam. He's actually working that the fish shouldn't die. In other words, afilu meis ein kan ela misasek. So eventually, if it does die, it's only misasek. V'chi meider Rab Shimon mimidid le'ichpes le. Rab Shimon is only moda. In other words, it's something you don't want. Imisrame. But he's not mechaven. So you see in Rashi here, we know the expression of psik reisha v'layamus denichale. In other words, a person, denichale, he wants it actually. Here, he doesn't even want it to die, right? The other way around.
When he's happy with it, and not happy with the result, it doesn't matter.
But why is he doing this on Shabbos?
They say in Yiddish, Akasha v'maisa, why the guy did it. Why is the guy Mechal Shabbos, right? Nobody should be Mechal Shabbos. He forgot he's a shogeg, right? We're talking about a guy who's also a shogeg. So he's a Chai V'chatos. He forgot that this, right? Okay. And if somebody does shchita on Shabbos, so for the Gemara, Sheichet Mishum Mai Mechayiv. In other words, Mai Mechayiv, Rashi explains, Shchita b'melechas ha-mishkan heicha. Where is shchita in the Mishkan? If you were talking about when they were taking the hide of the Elam Adamim and they were killing the animals, there in the Mishkan you didn't have to do the act of Shchita. Choking the animal is also okay if you only needed the skin. So where in the Mishkan did you see act of Shchita that we're going to list it as one of the Melachas, right in the Mishnah? So for the Gemara there it's Alt Mishum Tzoiveya. In other words, the reason why you're chayiv on Shabbos when you're sheichet is because you are dyeing the flesh. Rashi says, "Mishum tzaveya shetzaveya zabaso shebeis hashchita." Where you're shechting the animal, you're dyeing it with the blood. L'kam mefarish amayim mechabin l'tzavod. But the tzviya havim mishkan havim malacha. Tzviya was in the Mishkan, so that's why when it says Hashoyta Chayev, you'll be Chayev out Tzoveya. For the Gemara, Mishum Tzoveya and Mishum Neitilas Neshama Lo, only because of Tzoveya. You're killing the animal by doing Shchita. So Gemara answers, Ema Af Mishum Tzoveya.
The Lavmach is only for erecting the Mishkan. It had nothing to do with the Boda was Shchita.
Right, in the actual erecting, the building of the Mishkan. Okay.
So the act of taking a soul of an animal is not a violation of Shabbos?
It is a violation of Shabbos, but the Av Malacha that the Mishnah is talking about, that has to be compared to the Mishkan, has to be an Indian of Tzaveh, of dying it, right? But you're also Chayiv al Patil L'Shama. Right.
Also.
Right, but it doesn't have to be the act of Shchita, it's the act of killing the animal, right? Like Rashi explained, you don't have to do the Shchita part, you could choke the animal, you're Chayiv al killing. So when the Mishnah says Ashochto, it doesn't mean that you're taking a knife and you're doing the mitzvah of Shchita. You can just kill the animal, you're Chayiv al Patil L'Shama, but the same way when the Mishnah says Ashochto, it means that you're Chayiv al Soveya. Af Mishum Tzoveya. Right.
Also from Tzoveya.
Right, but killing, not al shchita. So don't say the guy's chai because he shechted an animal. It's because he killed the animal and he dyed the animal. Okay, Amar Rav Milsa Damre Emu by Milsa. What you just said, I better say something like Lacey Dari Basroi, that future generations shouldn't come along Allah and they'll laugh on what you're saying. Why does he want? In other words, when you're killing this animal, what do you care about the blood around the base of shchita? So that's why I'm saying Nicha the Latafis Beis Hashchita Dama. It should be there. The blood should be by the Beis Hashchita. Why? People will see the piece of meat, and they'll come and buy it because it's very red. It looks very healthy. So therefore, you do want blood around the Beis Hashchita. So it will be good for a sale. Okay. The Mishnah said if somebody salts and Vama'abda, he works it. Freddy Gemara, Hainim Oleach, Hainim Avid. It's exactly the same part of the avoda of an animal. So when it says Malicha and Ma'avid, it's the same thing. So why are you listening? Why are the Mishnah listening twice? So where it says Rabbi Yechon, Rabbi Shlokish, Amar Tavayu, Apikat B'nei, you take out one of them, Va'ilba, Shirtud, and bring in Shirtud. Shirtud is a marking. Rashi says, when they're cutting the hide, they're marking it, Kifi Mashu Reitza, how much he wants, Lahariach, how long should it be, Laharchiv, how wide, Lakatzer, Achitoch. V'amar, V'achar Kach, Ma'avi Asaki, he brings a knife, Derech Sirtur, he gives it a little carve, so we'll see where to cut it.
That's the thing with the tefillah, right?
Shirtud, yes.
Shirtud.
Yeah. Amar Rabbi Barahuna, Haman the Malach Bisra, if a person salts the meat, Chai Mishum Ma'avet, you'll be Chai al Ma'avet, like working hide. So if you do that to your meat, it's not only to skins, but also to your piece of meat. Rav Amar, no, ain't ibud ba'ichlin. If you're salting basar, that's not ibud. Ibud ma'abed only applies to hides. Amar of Ashi, ba'afilu Rabbi Bar Huna la Amar, elo de kabayle l'urcha. When Rabbi Bar Huna said that you're chayiv as malach bisra, you're only chayiv if you're salting it so much because you want to take it on your vacation. Let's say you're going to an island, there was no kosher food, so you're salting it a lot, right? Coming very hard. So if you do that on Shabbos, because your flight, let's say, is on Saturday night, you'll be chayiv. Aval besa, but if you're just salting it, in other words, for use, right? For Shabbos, right? Say, the person's not going to salt it that much, so you are allowed to salt your piece of meat on Shabbos and eat it, and you're not bechayiv out ma'abeit. It says if somebody erases and cuts. So Gemara says, not erase, smooths it out, right? So the Mishnah explained, actually, memachkoi means megarer sarai. When he takes off from the hide, he smooths out the skin by taking off the hair, right? And mechatcha means that you start cutting the hide into pieces for your shoes. That's how Rashi explained it in the Mishnah. Amar Rav Acha bar Chanina hashaf bein amudim. If somebody smooths out between poles, let's say by your porch, you had a poles. According to Rashi's saying you're smoothing out the karka, so you could sit on it nicely on Shabbos. If you smooth out that sand there, chayiv mishum mimachek. Also for smoothing out. Tosfos actually, if you look at the second Tosfos, he explains the shafa or ala amud. You had these poles and you brought your hide and you scraped it against the amud, against the pillar kadei lachlika to smooth out. So that is memachek. So you chayiv alt memachek. Amar Rav Chia bar Abba Gimel Dvarim Sachli Rav Ashi B'Shmeid Rav Yishu ben Levi. There were three things that Rav Ashi told us in the name of Rav Yishu ben Levi. Number one was Hamigari Rashi Klunsas B'Shabbos Chayim Mishum Mechatech. If somebody the top of a piece of wood, a peg, you smooth it out, so you'll be chayiv alt. If you smooth it out, you'll be chayiv alt mechatech. If you have a wound and you're putting a bandage on and you want to put, let's say, an ointment on it, and you smooth it out there, you're chayiv alt memachek. Right? So that's also when somebody has a cream, you can't smooth it out on your skin because you're chayiv alt memachek. And also suntan lotion. If somebody wants to go out in the sun on Shabbos, you just can't take suntan lotion on your face and put it on your face. So that's mamachek.
The rubs and toothpaste.
Excuse me?
The rubs and toothpaste also.
And
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's another problem also, toothpaste on a tooth by itself, on your finger, but if you put it on a toothbrush, then there's another problem. Misate says, Evan b'Shabbos chayiv mishum make bepatesh. In other words, you have a stone already that Rashi says, la'achash nekru mena'ar. You already uprooted it from the mountain. Nechsa machlika. You already smoothed out. Basically, you're finishing the touches on a stone. That will be the gemar malacha of make bepatesh, the final bang of the hammer. Or Reb Shimon ben Kisma, Reb Shimon ben Lakish, Hatzar Tzura Bekeli. If somebody makes a design on a keli, or a person is Vamanapeach B'Klei Schuchas, if you're basically blowing into a glass that was melted and you're shaping it into a keli, that is Chayiv Mishum Mak B'Patish. Rabbi Yehuda, Hayman Shakal Akufe Miklime. If a person is taking off threads, let's say there's a new beged and there's threads hanging and you're pulling off those threads, that is also Chayiv Mishum Mak B'Patish. Bahani Mili, that's only the kaprele, that it really bothered you and you took those threads to make the beged, your coat or your shirt look nicely, and you pull out some threads that are hanging there, that is Maka B'Patish. The Mishnah says, if you write two oisias, you're chayiv. So Rashi explained in the Mishnah, because you had the boards in the Mishkan that you want to know which one goes to which. Like you build your sukkah, so you make a mark. You put a letter Aleph and Beis, so you know Aleph and Beis go together. So since in the Mishkan they wrote Aleph and Beis, that's why you're chayiv if you write a letter with two letters. So Tan Rabbana, Kosev Ois Achas Gedola. Let's say you wrote one letter, but it's big as two letters. Are you chayiv? And there's place actually, when you wrote that big letter, a capital letter, there was room to write two letters there. You're potter. But if you're machak ois gedola, if you erase an ois gedola on Shabbos, a big letter, by erasing it, now you could write two letters, then you'll be chayiv. That's the chumrah of erasing. In other words, that you're chayiv in such a case. But if you're writing it, you will not. If you write one large letter, you won't be chayiv.
Nothing.
You're chayiv chatas. Right? If you did something wrong, you did something wrong, but you're not chayiv chatas. Habone v'asoser. If somebody builds and destroys a mechabe v'amavir v'amakve v'patish. So Rabba v'Rav Zeir Dam Tavaya Kol Midi the Ispe Gemar Melacha. Anything that has Gemar Melacha, that will be chayiv mishum maka v'patish. Elu Avos Malachas. So the Mishnah ended off, listed the 39 Malachas, and then it says Elu Avos Malachas. So the Gemara says Elu Lafuke. Why does it say Elu? Lafuke to exclude what? Midrab Lazar. The Mechayiv al Tolda b'Makam Av. Rabbi Lezer says that normally if you do, according to our Shita, if you do two Avs, you Chayiv two. right? But if you do an Av and a Tolda, you're only chayiv one, because it's all one. Rabbi Lezer says that if you do an Av and a Tolda, you're chayiv two. So our Mishnah says, Eilu Avos Malachas, not like Rabbi Lezer. In other words, you're chayiv two, but if you do an Av with its Tolda, you're only chayiv one. And for sure, if you have an Av, you do a Tolda and a Tolda of that Av, for sure you're only chayiv one. So we say that there are exactly 40 minus 1, 39. Why only 39? Why you have to say that again? Because according to Rabbi Yehuda, the time we learned the Brisa, Rabbi Yehuda Mosef as a shovet as midagdeg. Shovet, he added on to the 39. Shovet, Rashi says, is your mashve ashesi v'karka. When you're doing you're weaving, you're doing a certain malacha. Midagdeg means when you're pulling the threads. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're adding another 2. So our Mishnah says no, only 39, not 41. Amar Loiv Chacham and tell Rabbi Yehuda, Shovet harihu b'chal mesach. That's in the way that you weave. Midagdeg harihu b'chal orek. So it's already included, so you don't have to add it on. So according to our Tana, not Rabbi Yehuda, there's only 39. There's not 41. Mishnah. Oy klal achar amro. Another klal, a rule was said. Kol hakosher latzniya. In other words, something that it's, Rashi says, Shehu mina asl l'tzarech adam. In other words, the quality of this thing a person needs on Shabbos. And not only that, umatzniya kamo. Rashi says, kamo zeh, koloma sheyesh bo shir haroy latzniya. In other words, you have a quality of a thing that a person needs on Shabbos for itself, not on Shabbos or any day. And the amount, the quantity is there. So you have a shear. In other words, umatzniya, and you store that quantity, that shear. Therefore, if one person does that, and even though one person put it away, if somebody else takes away that shear, he'll be chayiv on Eitzah. Eitzah b'Shabbos, chayiv chatas alav. Right? The next case is kol she'eina kosher latzniya. Normally, the quality of this thing people do not put away. There's not enough. There's no quantity. Then somebody else takes this out. Only the person that put it away. Rashi says so you have something that's normally not used. There's no quality. There's not enough shear. One person decided to put it away for himself. For him, it's good enough. So in other words, that person put it away. That person is chayiv for taking it out. But if another person comes along, another person won't be chayiv. So in other words, you need that shear and you need that quality. Okay, so the Gemara says, in other words, you're saying that you put this certain thing people put away. What are you excluding on something that's not put away and you do a tzah on it, you won't be chayiv on Shabbos? If somebody carries out on Shabbos the blood of Anida, so that is ain't kosher latzniya. Nobody puts it away, so you won't be chayiv on it.
The cloth, you mean? Like
not the cloth, the dam itself, right? The dam itself, the blood. The Gemara says then, you have another shita, Mar Ukva Amala Fukiata Ashera. The wood of Ashera, of Avodah Zarah, you carry that out. Since it's Aser B'Hana, so nobody wants it. And Rashi says that the Yisuri Aninu, 3 lines on the bottom, Umi Isei, it's most, the Tzarech La'avdim, people want to destroy it. So if somebody carries that in Shabbos, you're not chayiv. Gemara says, Manda Medam Nida, did you putter on Shabbos? Kolshkin Atzei Ashera. But Manda Atzei Ashera, you putter on Atzei Ashera, Avol Dam Nida, no. The blood there, you might be chayiv. Why? Because Matzna L'Shonra, a person might put that blood away for its cat. So why doesn't the other Tana say, it is used for your cat, so why aren't you chayiv in that? But Kivin the Cholsha Loi Matzna. A person that feeds his cat dam, in other words, the person himself, the guy who's feeding the cat is going to get weak. Rashi says, "Hamaychel dama adam lechatul." If somebody gives blood of a human being to its cat, nasa chalash isa adam, that person will feel weak. So nobody's going to want to feed its cat. the blood. So therefore, it's Eina Kosher Latzniya. Nobody's going to put it away for its cat. So therefore, if you carried that out in Shabbos, you are pater. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina, hide like Rabbi Shimon. This statement in our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Shimon, because Rabbi Shimon says, Ha'amar le'amru kol ashurim alalu elo l'matzniyayim. In other words, these shurim are, in other words, Rashi says, Ha'datana kol ha'kosher latzniya, v'yesh bashir sheroy b'nei adam asuyin latzniya kisher zeh chayv kol adam al tzasai, v'afilu adam asher she'ein shir zeh chashav loy. Our Mishnah says, if normal people, most of the people put it away, so even if a rich man comes along, even though normally he doesn't keep these things, right? But since the other people keep it, therefore if the rich person carries it, you're chayiv. Rab Shimon says, no. If you yourself don't carry it out, in other words, you're rich, and this shear is not chashav enough for you, if you carry it out, you're pater, according to Rabbi Shimon. But our Mishnah is saying, if most people do carry it out, you will be chayiv. So let's end up to the Mishnah. Amar Rav Lazar, you're going to be pater. Amar Rav Lazar, ha delek Rav Shimon Lazar. The second statement in the Mishnah is not like Rav Shimon Lazar. The Tanya Klal Rav Shimon Lazar kol she'ena kosher latzniya. And if people don't put this away, and you don't put the shear away, the quantity, let's say a person did decide and put it away, and then somebody else comes along, so Rabbi Shimon Lazar says that you are chayiv, but according to our Mishnah, in other words, since it's normally she'ena kosher latzniya, even though one person puts it away, only that person is chayiv, not somebody else. But Rabbi Shimon Lazar says even another person will be chayiv if one person puts it away.